Hello, my name is Patrik Andrén and I'm the composer for Battlefield 1 and 5 together with Johan Söderqvist. I'm super happy to be invited to the Game Music Festival and to be able to share some of the music and thoughts behind the games. Hope you'll enjoy it. Thank you. So from the beginning, we started in 2015. We didn't know anything about games, neither Johan or I, and we began by asking lots of questions. We tried to understand what we were up against and how to do something good with this. We knew it was a fantastic project and a very honorable project in the gaming world. We wanted to make it emotional. We had strong feelings that we didn't want to make anything silly or happy or fake. So we wanted to make it, we wanted to mirror what we actually saw in the games. To have all the feelings in there, you know, horror, chaos, love, sadness, excitement, stress, panic, all those elements we wanted in there. And yeah, where do you begin? I think it's important to say there's no right way to do this. I think the gaming world has probably a more open way to approach the productions. And my experience of this games is probably totally different to someone else's approach to writing for games. But we tried to approach it a little bit like film, and we talked a lot about it with everyone involved, tried to understand it, tried to question things. You know, what happens if you do this instead, and can we make this a great moment as if it was a film? What happens if you have we build an engine underneath that mixes the tracks as you play, stuff like that. So it was an interesting build, but I also need to say that it's so easy when you work with games. I think it's easy to get into a bunch of technical stuff. So because it's so intriguing, it's so interesting, and when you just start to think about stems and mixing and trigger points and this and that, and then you get lost. You lose your sense of musicality or what the actual direction you're going in. So that was a learning process, to not get caught up in the technicalities around it. We brought in. We knew this was going to be a big, epic soundtrack. We wanted big orchestras, but we also wanted a lot of junk, metal, and ugly sounding sounds, basically, just to mirror the epicness and do something else that felt a little bit more rough. So we started building the palette from the start, as we always do. We need a sound, and the sound came from a lot of metals, as I said, but also a lot of drums and drum ensembles. We recorded ensembles playing rhythms, and then having it chopped up and made into usable building blocks to make the music. The building blocks were also crucial in the work, because you end up, contrary to a film, you end up with a material that is kind of loosely formed. You don't have a fixed product until the very end of the project, and you try to shape something with actually not having a product to paint. So if you say you paint a statue, in film and TV, and you're going to highlight certain places. In games, you try to paint this piece of clay that is, really shaping and forming, differently every day. So you try to paint a little here and there, and then next day the shape of the clay is different. So it can be hard, you can be really confused in the beginning, and then eventually it comes together. But it comes together in the last, last month, last weeks of before releasing it. Another thing that was part of our vision and the dream around the music was to use the theme. We inherited a theme written 20 years ago for the first game by Joel Eriksson. It's a good theme. I used to think it was a little bit over the top from the start. It was a little bit sounded like riding a horse, or a little bit of a piratey feel to it. So we wanted to have it set a little bit more and make it broader, bigger, and more in sync with the actual world wars. Here's that I found on YouTube. It's the evolution of Battlefield themes from 2002 to 2021. And here's like an early version of the theme. Just gonna play a little bit here. Yep, most of you know it. I'm just gonna move on here and play what we did for the first game. This is called Battlefield 1. There's a long build up here, so I think it's actually 2 minutes before the melody comes in. So a slower approach. Here's another one that is... So here's another version. It's in 3/4. Has a little bit of a British flavor to it. Ending with that motif in the drums that is also part of the legacy theme. Here we have another way to do the theme. It's played in a cello, I think. Here we go. Here's a Russian version of it. So that's another one. I have a personal favorite of mine is the pigeon, the flight of the pigeon. It's called. It's basically, yeah. So the theme is usually in, the melody starts on 1. While in this case we started on the 5th instead. So it's gives a totally different flavor. I'm gonna show you that little clip. This is actually a part where you play a pigeon and you get a bit of a God's perspective on the battlefield below. You fly above it and you see bombs and planes crashing, and it's pretty horrible going on, and then you have this view where you try to navigate a little pigeon going to deliver a message. Here we go. So that was a little bit about the theme. I also want to talk about the gameplay music, which is a major part of writing for Battlefield. The music for gameplay is usually a stressful kind of music, and maybe it's terrifying and building suspense, building panic and chaos, and making your heart pound a little faster. Usually there's a mixer, an engine behind it that tells you how to play the different instruments and the different parts. It could consist maybe about 2 stems or up to 5, 6 stems, depending on the cue. So usually there's a combat track, and sometimes there's just scary effects coming and going. We wanted to have it very dynamic, so you never really heard the same kind of occurrence twice in the music. So by having it mixed by itself, and then also very long stretches of music, you rarely came to the same place. At some places we also had different starting points within this maybe 5-minute long song. So yeah, the number of permutations of the same music usually were a lot, I would say. Pretty neat. It worked really nice. I'm going to show you some examples and some documents of how it can sound and how it can look when you do this. Hold on. I just pulled up a track here that is from Battlefield 5. It's a gameplay track. So we have one track that sounds like this, if I solo the green stuff here. And this is a film I just threw in while working. It's a gameplay. You don't know what's going to happen because it's up to the player to. But it gives you a feel of the overall. Oops. So I'm going to stop there and then listen to the turquoise. What do you say? Turquoise tracks here. It's a rhythm track. It's just like a momentum. It's a frame drum played brushes, sounds like. So together it sounds like this. Okay, so here's another gameplay document, pretty neat looking with pretty colors. I'm going to solo a few of these tracks. This is in Norway, it's called Fjord Assault. And this is also a long sequence of gameplay. Pretty hysterical cello playing brutally. One note. We have these. Coming and going. It's pretty chaotic and not super pretty. A orchestral FX track. Very airy, coming and going. There's another rhythm track. So together it sounds something like this. Now it's locking in. So this is as you can see, it's a several minute long song, a long loop basically, with 5-6 tracks mixing automatically to the action. Let's see if something goes on in the end here. I think the orchestra is coming in. Okay, here's another one. It's intense gameplay. This track is called Metal and Drum here, and it's on the soundtrack. It's called The Battle of Iwo Jima. So, and it looks pretty chaotic. We start with the layer 1, and it sounds like this. Layer 2 right here. Layer 3, which is probably mostly effects. together we have this. Here's a song called Sandstone, taking place in a sandy, deserty place, and I remember it being a very long fight. So here we have the orchestra. And here is flute effects. Here is some synthy kind of bass pulsey thing. This looks like a percussion-ish. There's also a loop layer. Scrapey tones. Let's see. Oh, it's a rooster. Here's a drum track. And more effects. So yeah, together they make this track, and it sounds like this. So I just briefly want to mention a game we're currently working on. It's called Ark Raiders, and it's coming out this year. And it's going to take place in the distant future, an apocalyptic setting where machines are coming down to fight us. It's pretty neat. You can check out the trailer on YouTube. And these are some of the artwork. And yeah, it's going to be cool. Looking forward to put it out there. So I would like to wrap this up and say thank you for listening, and hope you've enjoyed it. I want to end on an emotional song called 𝘓𝘰𝘷𝘦, and it's from the Battlefield soundtrack Apocalypse from Battlefield 1. And I'd like to send my thoughts out to the Ukrainian people and what they're going through right now. Thank you.